This video is about simplifying square roots. So I know that this is probably review for you, so hopefully this should be nice and easy. But let's go ahead and review how we simplify square roots. The first thing I'm going to do is start off with this table that may help you in your endeavor here. So let's fill out the square side followed by the root side. I think you'll find this is pretty easy. So 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, 6 squared is 36, 7 squared is 49, 8 squared is 64, 9 squared is 81, 10 squared is 100, 11 squared is 121, and 12 squared is 144. This is normally about where the average person kind of doesn't know the squares anymore, but we're going to keep going. 13 squared is 169, 14 squared is 196, 15 squared is 225, 16 squared is 256, 17 squared is 289, 18 squared is 324, 19 squared is 361, and 20 squared is 400. The reason I went that far is for all intents and purposes, that's most likely going to cover all of your bases while you're simplifying. So now we're going to go through and do the opposite and fill these out. So basically we're going the opposite way that our first table went. So square root of 1 would be 1, square root of 4 would be 2, and you can see the pattern, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And yes, those are the positive roots. That's A-okay. That's all we're really going to care about for right now anyways. So let's go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip this practice because it is exactly what we just did on that table. And I'm going to move on to pulling out factors from inside of radicals. Okay, so this gets to be a little more interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this 8 up into a perfect square and some other number. I'm going to look at the factorization. So let's see. 4 times 2 is 8, right? 4 times 2. Well, I know the square root of 4 is 2. So I'm going to take that square root and put it outside and then keep what was already inside the house there as it was. Pretty easy. So what I'm going to do for 18 is very similar. 18 is 9 times 2. And I know the square root of 9 is 3. So I'm going to pull the 3 out and I keep that square root of 2 inside the house. Let's see, the next one is going to be, 56 is 4 times 14. Square root of 4 is 2, so he comes out, and the 14 stays in there because he's not a perfect square. See, 48, that would be 12 times 4. 4 is a perfect square, so he can come out, and the 12 stays in the house. Let's see here, 60 would be 15 times 4. 15 times 4. I know that 4 is a perfect square, so the 4 can come out as a 2, and the 15 stays in there. And 72 would be, let's see, 9 times 8. 9 times 8. 9 is a perfect square, so it comes out, and the 8 stays in the house. So if you hadn't caught on to exactly what I was doing, let me get my highlighter out here. I know the square root of 4 is 2, so that 2 comes out. I know the square root of 9 is 3, so the 3 comes out. I know the square root of 4 is 2, so the 2 comes out. And you see how if there's a perfect square in there, I'm pulling it out. I'm taking its square root and then leaving whatever's left inside the house. This is a really, really important skill for you to have as you move your way through algebra. Okay, so Mr. Clark, what happens if there's stuff that is outside already? It's really not too hard. We're going to do the exact same process. We're just going to modify it slightly. So let's ignore number 7. Let's ignore the 2 for a second and just simplify the 108. So if I did that, I'm going to leave the 2 outside, so like this, right? And that 108 breaks down to 4 times 27. And I broke it down to that because that 4 is a perfect square, so I can pull it out. Now, the square root of 4 is 2, so that would be 2 times 2 times the square root of 27. We're going to multiply those two together to get 4 times the square root of 27. Now, if you look up in this one here, once I realized this step, I could just say square root of 4 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, and put that in front, and then keep my 27. The more of these you do, the kind of the faster you get at them. They're just easier to see the more you practice. So let's take a look at the 7 roots of 60. So I've got 7 times the square root, and 60 is 4 times 15. 4 is my perfect square, so that comes out as a 2. 2 times 7 is going to be 14, and the 15 stays in the house like that. Let's see, 18. Let's see, 18 is 9 times 2. Square root of 9 times 2. Square root of 9 is 3. So we get 3 roots of 2. Number 10 looks a lot trickier than it is. I'm going to leave the 3/5 outside for a second, and we're going to break this down. 175 is 25 times 7. Square root of 25 is 5, okay? And then 5 times 3/5 would be 15/5, or 3. And we keep the 7 in the house. That's all there is to it. It's not too bad. We can do the prime factorization as well. I found this to be a lot easier when I was first learning how to do this. So let's take a look at this first one. 5 square roots of 28. Let's see, so that 28 would be 2 times 2 times 7, which is 4 times 7. So we get, the 4 comes out as 2, so that's 5 times 2. And then we keep the 7 in the house. All right, 27, let's see the next one, 3 times. So 27 is going to be 3 times 3 times 3, or 9 times 3. So a 3 comes out, and we've got the 3 that stays in the house. 48 would be 3 times 4 times 4, 12 times 4. I mean 16 times 3, I'm sorry, 16 times 3. It's going to be easier because it's 16, the square, right? So the 16 comes out as a 4, and the 3 stays inside the house. Let's go ahead and do these last ones here. So 125, let's see, that's negative 10. A square root of 125 is 25 times 5. So a 5 is going to come out, and 5 times negative 10 will be negative 50, and the 5 that we had will stay in the house. Let's see, number 5, keep the 10 outside. 12 is 4 times 3. The 4 is a perfect square, so it'll come out as a 2. 2 times 10 is 20. So we get 20 roots of 3. 500, ooh, this one's a big one. 500, let's see, we have 8 and then 25 times 20, right? So then we'll get 40 roots of 20, right? The next one, 175, goodness, negative 4, we have 25 times 7. The 25 comes out as a 5, and 5 times negative 4 is going to be a negative 20, and we'll keep the 7 in the house. The next one, 15, ooh, that's a nasty one. 5 times 49 is 245. The 49 will come out as a 7. 7 times 15 is 105, roots of 5. That was a gross one, my goodness. And our last one here is 20 times square root of 98. That'll be 2 times 49. The 49 is a perfect square. It'll come out as a 7. 7 times 20 is 140, roots of 2. So a question might be, Mr. Clark, how are you so good at pulling the squares out? What I'm doing in my head is I'm thinking, is there a perfect square I can divide this number by? If you aren't good at that, you might have to sit there and divide it out by hand, get a calculator out. I promise it's not as hard as it sounds. You can just go down this list we had at the beginning, and you can just try dividing by each one of these numbers until you get one that comes out. They don't always work out beautifully like this, but generally they do. And there's not much else to this. It's okay. Some of these are going to be difficult. You're going to mess some of them up. That's going to happen. Don't worry. Just keep at it, and you will get the right answer.